nature should be resilient, so we need to be resilient as well. So unfortunately, Zsolt got sick. I had to replace him. And you will enjoy my other presentation tomorrow because I will replace another colleague talking about wilderness and rewilding for freshwater habitats. First of all, I'd like to say that Zsolt, who was about to talk about modeling for a change in water management, he's actually not the only researcher here in Hungary who is arguing that we need a complete new water management system, but there are a number of other researchers in different other universities, and one of them actually made the presentation also to the Sustainable Development Committee of the Hungarian Parliament 2 years ago. The basic idea of them, and this is why we wanted Zsolt to speak, that we need to keep water in the landscape, and in order to that will help also agriculture production. It will help to recharge groundwater. And if you have questions about this topic, maybe we will discuss it after the two presentations. I know that I have a former classmate here, Zsolt, who was also part of the discussion that they organized 2 years ago, the Vízválasztó group or water basin group. I don't know how to translate this to English. So there are experts here. Again, the basic message that we need to change water management or the way how we treat water. It should not be treated as a threat. It should be treated as an opportunity, and we should keep water in the landscape. Otherwise, Hungary or the Carpathian Basin is going to dry further on. So what I will do now, after this very short introduction of why we wanted Zsolt to speak, or Dr. Pinke, I will try to introduce you my organization. And sorry, it's in Hungarian. I had to jump in now, so I didn't have a chance to actually translate the presentation. This is a presentation I used about 2 weeks ago at the meeting of the Hungarians on August 20. Basically, you see that I had to talk about the organic civil societies. That's the title of the presentation, and I was using the Great Lakes and Wetlands Association as an example. We started, and then I used one quotation from a former minister that because all of us here, and the reason why we need to introduce Great Lakes and Wetlands Association, because we are actually the organizer of this event. That's why the speakers have on their name tag our logo, and we have colleagues here, Heini, who was helping us in organizing the conference, and she was in contact with most of you, I guess. Tibi, who's the vice president, I'm a president, and there are various other colleagues, but most of us work voluntarily for the organization. So apart from our normal job, we actually work as volunteers or in our free time. And the quote is basically about that for a full life, you have to also speak up for the good causes that you believe in. So that's the basic quotation, and that's what we try to do with the Great Lakes and Wetlands. I'm going to show you again the so-called the map which Peter Kajner already presented about the Carpathian Basin before the water regulation started in the early 19th century. And then I will talk a little bit about the Fertő Lake, because I'm also a member of the Friends of Fertő Lake Association. The Great Lakes and Wetlands, by the way, it's an organization that has members, legal members. So it's an association or federation of associations, civil society organizations, basically throughout Hungary, from Debrecen to Sopron, and then from Gárdony up to Göd. All of us are facing various problems, and I will use Fertő Lake as an example of what problems we are facing there. On the contrary of the legal obligations of the government. So this is the map that Peter Kajner already used in one of his presentations, or in his presentation. he compared it to the current situation. That shows the surface water and those areas that could be covered with surface excess water before the water regulation time. So it's from, let's say, early 19th century. Hungary has changed, the Carpathian Basin has changed since then quite a lot. And the next data, 84% of our former wetlands was lost, and we are actually the second after Ireland in losing wetlands, according to research that was conducted by German researchers. So we lost quite a significant part of our wetland area, or former wetland and freshwater areas, and that's what we really would like to change. And basically, one of the purposes of this conference is coming up with a statement. You could see, and I sent all of you, all the registered participants, I sent already the statement electronically as well. You are able to comment it and get back to us, because tomorrow we would like to finalize this statement. The statement basically is going to send a message to the European Commission. So we try to influence the mission letter to the new commissioners. So we are going to send this statement to Ursula von der Leyen. And the second part of the statement covers Hungary, and we are going to send this message to the Hungarian government with various requests. The requests for the Commission are largely based actually on the Wetlands International document that was signed by WWF and BirdLife and EB, I believe. So basically, most of the requests that we ask is coming from that document dated, I think, March this year or late last year. One of the funders of the Great Lakes and Wetlands Association, and someone was asking, I think, Gabor, about legal cases and whether we can enforce the current legislation, and whether there is any good example of enforcing legislation. The Friends of Fairtur Lake, it's again a very small association based in the western part of Hungary. The Fairtur Lake, which is the Neusiedlersee, we are going to hear about a vision for Neusiedlersee, Seewinkel and Hanság tomorrow from Bernhard, so I'm not going to explain too much about the lake itself, but basically we set up this organization because in 2019 we recognized that the government is about to start a large-scale building tourist resort project. Originally, this was planned as a restoration of the existing tourism infrastructure, but that was far from the truth. It's basically a complete new development at the Fairtur Lake, enlarging the current tourism infrastructure from 13 hectares to 77 hectares inside a national park, Natura 2000 site, Ramsar site, World Heritage site. So basically that area has all the protective recognition that an area can have in Hungary, except maybe the European diploma, but all the other award or all the other recognition the area has. Interestingly, the World Heritage recognition was given to the Fairtur Lake not because of its natural beauty or the natural values, but because of the cultural values. I'm not quoting word by word, but basically the UNESCO recognized the outstanding universal value of this area as the result of the symbiosis between human and nature, creating this unique landscape, 800-year symbiosis. This symbiosis is over now, I think, so that's the basic problem, but again, we will hear probably more tomorrow from Bernhard. But in my view, this symbiosis is over, and that tourist development plan, which is again, the government is planning from public money on public land in a public protected area, is actually an outstanding wrong example how you can treat a protected area, and doesn't even make economic sense. There are various accommodation holders, existing accommodations around the lake, and basically what the government was planning is building, they called it reconstruction, but it was actually, or it is actually a development. They were planning 26 apartment houses that, I mean, this could have been built anywhere in the world. Basically, there is no link to the former building culture in the area. They were planning a monolith concrete 4-star hotel. They were planning a camping area, eco center, and 2 motels. So 4 different types of accommodation, all within the national park area. So basically, the reason why we formed the Friends of Fairtrade Lake was protesting against this development plan. We had two or three litigations against the government. At the end, we were working together with Greenpeace, and Greenpeace has recently won in one of these litigation against the government at the higher court. I don't know the proper English word, but the higher court. So it's actually an exemplary decision about the changing the morphology and dredging in the lake, when dredging is possible and when it's not possible. We also won one litigation against, so the government had to restart the environmental permission, and we managed also to stop the last public procurement process for the building. So at the end, currently this development is on hold, which we consider as a success. Though, again, how long the success will last or live, we don't really know yet. This is one of the issues that the Great Lakes and Wetlands works. We are also, if you remember this wetland map that I showed previously, we also argue that significant restoration activities should start. Again, tomorrow there will be presentations about this, so I'm not getting into details, but we have a chance to actually do some, based on the newly approved or adopted nature restoration law. We believe there are significant opportunities to do nature restoration projects across Hungary that aim to re-establish wetlands. The other area that we work on is Nora is going to introduce a project that we have done at the Lake Balaton, but we recently started to work also against the forceful battery strategy of our government, because the EU is about to, there is an EU battery strategy. EU is pushing for electrification of the traffic sector, and we think that there are shadows of this strategy, and this shadow largely lies on Hungary, because Hungary announced that we would like to be the second or the first largest battery producer of the European Union. And we believe that there is no real reason to do that, because we lack water that is needed for battery production. We lack lithium. So we basically lack all the natural resources that would be needed. And apart from this, we also lack labor force. So there is no really reason to run that battery strategy. By the way, we are going to have another conference about this, about the battery strategy in November. So if anyone is interested, please come. And the last that I try to show is another figure just about the level of naturalness here in Hungary. 400 hectare is the area that is currently in Győr-Szentivan, where I live. Sorry, I use a kind of home example. 400 hectare is the size of agriculture area that the government is trying now to turn it into a new industrial zone, while in Hungary we have 347 hectares of natural forest. Just to get a little bit of an idea how natural Hungary is, at least in terms of forest, very, very low naturalness. And the 347 hectare, it's not my figure, it came from the government. It's a government figure from the National Land Register or whatever, land agency. The last thing that I wanted to show is basically the Civil EU presidency. That's the framework why we are here today. We started the Civil EU presidency again, I said at the beginning, because we wanted to amplify the voice of the civil society organization and also the scientific sector. So basically we started this presidency from 1st of July. Within the framework of this initiative, we organized 7 conferences. This is the first one. The second is going to be about forest, 3 weeks from now. And then we will have one on environmental justice, one on women in decision making, another one on updating the Roma strategies, especially in Central Eastern Europe, and the last one is about the civil space. And yeah, I already mentioned the battery strategy. So 7 conferences. Interestingly, this kind of resonates the 7 priorities of the Hungarian presidency, or the official program of the presidency, but the issues that we are dealing with are the issues that are not included in the official presidency. That's why we are trying to, again, amplify the voice of civil society, amplify the voice of those issues that are not included in the presidency. So if any of the other conference is of interest to you, battery strategy, women in decision making, forest, battery strategy, you can visit the website of the civil presidency, and there you can get the agenda for each of them, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Tibor? Tibor is the website manager, so he should guarantee that there will be information about this. So that's basically it, and in terms of this conference, we are grateful of the support of EIB, but we, as we said, we got support from the European Climate Foundation as well, and several other smaller support, sometimes pro bono, like from the bank, where we are now in the building of the Magnet Bank. So we got some support. We keep up the pressure on the government through this Civil EU Presidency Initiative as Great Lakes and Wetlands. And having said that, I'd like to give the floor to Nora then, to talk about one of the projects that we have done together with lawyers, ecologists and lawyers together.